What's going on, fellow Memphians, Tennesseans, U.S. Americans, and citizens of the world? This is your boy Efren Tinoco over here giving you the straight, the narrow, the real, the deal, what you need to know and not what you want to hear, irrespective of how you feel. All right, let me let me quit while I'm behind. Um, so you all know what I heard, what I have been saying about don't believe the hype with respect to Mexico. There's an agenda behind some of this news. Um, Mexico, as you all know, is a country with a lot of resources, a lot of people, a lot of history, a lot of culture, a lot of energy, a lot of youth. Much, I say, more abundant in all of those than even per square mile than even the United States. Some of y'all have been, even if it was just to get drunk in some corner of the world that is quote unquote friendly, well, I would say accommodating specifically to Americans like um, Tijuana or uh, Tulum or Los Cabos or Cancun, those places, right? Not like in the interior, not like Puerto Vallarta, not like Mexico City, not like Monterrey, for example, unless you're a business person, then it's, of course, very friendly. But when you go down, you see things that are not quite in line with what you what you see the portrayal in either the news or in movies, for example. I told you about the travel advisories and stuff, and this is the same thing. What you're hearing now is that the Mexican um, Institute of Elections is um, being pared back, diminished, um, disempowered by the current president. Well, yes, it is. The budgets are being cut, and the regulations are being changed so they're not able to control elections as much. Well, Mexico, it's on face, it's a good thing for the elections to be federal because then all the elections follow the same norms. But I'm sorry, the real thing, the real deal, irrespective of how you feel, is that this institute was um, filled with political partisan operatives, and they favor the old guard that lost the recent election. Now, the reason why they lost the election officially is because the numbers were so big in favor of the current president, that uh, they they uh, they couldn't they just couldn't cheat him out of the victory. Kind of like a Bernie Sanders victory in a Washington primary, as in Washington the state, or an Oregon primary. Just you can't give that primary to Joe Biden, right? Um, so yeah, um, the the two biggest executives in the INE are going to leave their term with together sharing almost $1 million among the two of them for as a like a severance package or something. Certainly more than what senators, Congress people, and the president of Mexico make, or judges. Well, no, not judges. The judges are corrupt too. They were assigned by the old guard, and they collect bribes in order to let the narcos go. Okay, so this march that's organized today for the Mexican election um, Institute is being organized by the same people that are very close to Genaro Garcia Luna, the the drug czar that was arrested for corruption in Brooklyn. And he could only have been arrested outside of Mexico, by the way. Now, I've got a theory as to why there's all this support for the INE in the United States. It doesn't make sense. Well, it does make sense because the INE is not democratic. It is not a democratic institution. It is not saving democracy. The INE is impeding democracy. They're tipping the scale in front of the old guards. They even got onto the current president for having little rag dolls made of him, caricatures, because they said it was promotion. It was promotion outside of election season. It's just ridiculous. It's ridiculous. It's if people want to make rag dolls and onto honor the president, let them whatever. It's like if they were to have kept Obama from making the Hope posters until the primary season got underway. I don't know, but anyway, so one of the biggest people that are probing into the INE is one Senator Menendez, who already sidestepped some allegations of major corruption in 2019. This was the same time that Genaro Garcia Luna actually was convicted. Genaro Garcia Luna, who was the drug czar during the Calderon administration, who was from 2006 to 2012, basically was there for most of the first term of Obama. So he's associated with the first term of Obama, and Hillary Clinton was Secretary of State. So she would have been the one running managing the relationship with Mexico. And the current ambassador to Mexico is Salazar, who is a lightweight lobbyist for the oil industry, and he does that work already for Biden. In fact, he was the guy who was the Interior Secretary up until the BP explosion happened, and that basically, literally and figuratively, blew up in Obama's face. So, the big questions that Chuck Grassely, Republican, is properly asking, and what many Mexicans are properly asking, is why in the world? Why did we empty the clip and see what was going on stateside? Because Genaro Garcia Luna didn't just drop off drugs at the border and then go to wherever they needed to go in the United States. When he aided and abetted the Sinaloa cartel headed by the famous El Chapo, right? So he picked a winner. And in exchange for picking the winner, he got bribes to the tune of hundreds and hundreds of millions of dollars, which is well beyond the economic reach of anybody who holds a cabinet post of either the United States or Mexico, unless they do like Pelosi level insider trading times 3 or 4, right? Okay. So, anyhow, who were they working with stateside? Well, who were Calderon working with? Who was Calderon working with in the United States? Could it have been Hillary Clinton? Could it have been Joe Biden as vice president? Who could it have been? Could have been the DEA. Could it have been the CIA at the time? I don't know who was heading all that up. So Chuck Grassley is asking, who in the CIA, who in the DEA, who knew? Because we knew he was corrupt. We knew. We knew. Somebody was telling the U.S. Embassy in 2008 that Genaro Garcia Luna was corrupt. We knew. And Genaro Garcia Luna tortured this guy, put him in jail, and left him in jail until he left the post and made his way back to the United States. Genaro Garcia Luna, that is. Also, the President Calderon, 2006 to 2012, 2 administrations ago, is in Indonesia right now. He's in Indonesia because they don't have an extradition treaty. People in Mexico suspicion him of high treason because of these drugs, because of they attribute many deaths in Mexico. He was the one who participated in on the Mexican side the what do you call it? Fast and Furious, whereby 3,000 plus firearms were transported and tracked within Mexico. Tracked, supposedly not 700 as Obama would tell you, 3,000. And the scandal is that some of them were of course involved in specific deaths, documented. They were involved in specific deaths. Calderon, the president, who was Genaro Garcia's boss, is also wanted in the International Court of Justice in The Hague, Netherlands, for crimes against humanity because of his participation. And that, of course, any findings in the Southern District of New York at Brooklyn would obviously substantiate that if there was cooperation. But don't get it twisted. The Southern District of Brooklyn did not empty the clip in convicting Genaro Garcia Luna. There was no U.S. side evidence. That would have implicated current people in the Democratic Party, right? So, whoever comes next, if it is AMLO, AMLO's not running, obviously, so he's not going to be an authoritarian. He's not running. He let this demonstration go on. He's not an authoritarian. He's a social democrat. He's not a communist. Okay? He's very popular because he ended a lot of corruption, and therefore resources and goodies were not diverted to personal pocketbooks, but to finishing projects towards making this amazing new oil refinery that's going to get Mexico independent for gasoline, for making solar farms, for making wind farms, and kicking out the wind farms of Spain, of Iberdrola, for which Calderon was a board member and was living in Spain for a while at the benefit of a BlackRock invested Iberdrola, who was a Spanish energy concern. So basically, it was a haven for favorable treatment of foreign investors, and whereby foreign investors and local businessmen alike would get their taxes forgiven. So this guy comes in now, charges taxes, charge people their taxes. They complain, they whine. Well, they get put out of business if they don't pay up. This includes Walmart, okay, in Mexico. So obviously the Mexican treasury is doing much, much better. Look at the way the peso has been rising versus the dollar. Okay, Mexico has been outperforming the United States financial system because of the fact that, first of all, well, Mexico's not sending its resources over to Ukraine. It's reinvesting in its people. How about that? That's why this man is immensely popular. You don't need to tip the scale. The problem is that he's also probably going to be followed by someone who's going to be more youthful, and ready to convict anybody who. Okay, the three candidates who are likely to succeed him within his own party, who the INE might disqualify. Okay, because of the fact that just because they want a lapdog. I think the lapdog they want is the Trojan horse, Ricardo Monreal, the INE. Okay, but the ones who actually would win a primary for Morena in Mexico, that party, Morena, who is the president's party, they are ready to convict. They're ready to clean house in the judiciary. They are ready to clean house in the INE. They have the Army, the Navy, the Air Force, and the Mexican National Guard all behind them. And this is what scares the former Mexican establishment the most. Even former presidents of the National Action Party, or the Narco Action Party, I would say, as it has now been revealed in Brooklyn, Fox and Calderon. That guy, that big cowboy with big mustache, says, "We are not going to give $1 for the fucking wall." Okay, that guy, he's going to end up in jail. He's probably going to end up in jail. Very likely his successor, because they both had Garcia Luna work for them. It's impossible to say that they didn't know. Both of them are dishonest, and both of them have been very, very corrupt. I'm not going to give you any details unless you want details, but because such things take a long time to explain. But they've filled their pockets and their friends and have handed favors over to people, powerful people inside and outside of Mexico and the United States. So anyway, this whole thing about what's going on with the INE, with the Mexican, with the uh, Lopez Obrador trying to be authoritarian, that's BS. There's some very powerful people, even in the United States, as Chuck Grassley is trying to discover. Probably because it's a partisan witch hunt on his part. Well, whatever. They're guilty. They are guilty. There are people who helped and abetted Genaro Garcia and Felipe Calderon, the president, bring weapons into Mexico and drugs into the United States. It's that simple. Who was it? Hopefully, we'll know. This is your boy, friend Tinoco, um, telling you what you need to know and not what you want to hear. As always, bye bye.